Hello and live from the infamous Murph's Pub, I'm Jeremy Taylor and welcome to this week's Wednesday Night Undressed. Recorded in front of a live audience, the podcast is one that reaches into the wobbly places other podcasts dare adventure. We don't claim to look at things scientifically, but we definitely have all the answers to your mysteries, vegetable, animal and mineral. We know the kings and queens of England and questions most political. In short, we can explain matters mathematical, physical and medical. We are, as I said, the only naked podcast you can undress to on a Wednesday night whilst wallowing in your bath. We're back with our full crew tonight, which is really cool. Alena's with us, Jane is with us, Eli's with us, that's with a Y. Bobby's with us, Fernando, Chris, Evo, hello. Lewis, Greg, and young Izzy's with us here.
Hey.
And Kathleen.
Yeah, you did not leave out wives.
Have we got sponsors tonight, by the way, Evo?
I don't know, Susan might have sent us something, but I got some news. Last week we were sponsored by our long-suffering listener,
Radina
in Bulgaria, and she sent us a message. So yeah, here it is. Hello, I want to inform you that since I'm a sponsor of the podcast now, I'm automatically receiving information about how many listeners there are of the podcast. I was absolutely amazed to learn that the podcast is being listened to by more people now than the people that have heard the string quartet number 13 by Beethoven. Of course, I'm referring to the recording that was embedded into the gold-plated disc that was placed on Voyager 2.
That's a good number.
Voyager 2, and is currently in the outer space. So this is the message from Radina.
And of course, Radina is one of Evo's friends from Bulgaria when he goes over and gets asked to stand for president.
Oh.
First question up. First subject. The lottery. When I did this question, I was given this question yesterday. It was at 810 million. It's now over 1 billion, which means that you would probably end up with around 400 million if you went for the cash after tax and everything else. What I'm interested to know is not what good deeds would you do with it, and the family that you would give it to, or your kids, or anything else. I want to know what organisation would you give $1 million to simply for shit and giggles, to mess something up, nothing serious or needy, just for, as I say, just for shit and giggles. Since this is a podcast, apparently you're allowed to say things like that. So Lewis is back with us after some trials. Who would you give $1 million to, Lewis, just to mess with them? You're not allowed to give it to anybody because you've got plenty of other millions that you can give to the needy.
So this is just my antagonize my mother-in-law.
That's right.
Kind of gift.
Yeah. To mess with the local church or something like that.
In that case, it would obviously be the Church of Satan.
Good answer. Yes. You'd have a statue of Satan put up somewhere, like in Statuary Hall or something.
Yeah, exactly. Something that. Trying to think. Since she doesn't really leave the house, it would have to be something pretty close to the house. So maybe maybe I'd buy one of the neighbors' houses and have that converted into a church for the Church of Satan.
Oh, it's brilliant. Brilliant. I knew it was going to be a good question. Jane, what about you?
I think I'd probably give them to the Celtic weavers at Muckross House.
Celtic weavers?
Yeah, they have really good products. I'd just do it, just because I like their scarves.
Would they give you a scarf for it?
I have no doubt I would probably get many scarves.
Okay.
So mine was absolutely not as brilliant as Lewis's.
No,
but,
gonna have to go.
Mine was just antagonistic. It wasn't really brilliant.
Well, that's the whole thing, Bobby.
Oh, I would fund research to prevent the cure of the common cold. I mean, common cold is super valuable. How do you go? You get out of so much work just like I got the sniffle. If they cure the cold, so much more work would get done. I would prevent the cure for the common cold.
Greg.
Say the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
You what?
That's a good one.
The Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
Oh, right, yes. So that's two church.
Thank you.
Church.
That was Greg Esquire.
Yeah, we like that one.
I did not realize we were such a religious group.
Yeah, Fernando.
Well, I would like, since it's my money, you say 1 million, screw that. I would put 10 minutes on this podcast. We're going to have a librarian, for example, so we would avoid when you have a question repetition like this one in a slightly different way. We're going to have vocal teachers and a studio to record merchandise and
Cheaper food and better
probably
beer.
would double our like listeners. We're gonna go from 2 listeners to 4 on the next year, like I think.
Alena, what would you do if you've got so much money you don't know what to do with it, and you want to give $1 million just for shit and giggles to mess with somebody?
I know.
I know, she says.
Yeah, so for no altruistic reasons.
Absolutely.
So just for fun, I would give $1 million to the geniuses.
To Jesus?
To the geniuses.
No, to
I didn't say the
geniuses.
Jesuses.
I was going to say, how'd you get in touch?
to the geniuses that developed and continue to develop the genius games at the company franchise Cards Against Humanity, which is based in Chicago, Illinois.
Nice.
And they have made a series of games which are clearly, time and time again, amazing for having a fun, interesting night with 5 to 10 people.
Outstanding.
Chris.
I'd probably just get $1 million $1 bills and just start randomly giving out $1 to just about everybody I met. You know,
That's
just walking
annoying.
around saying, "Here's $1, have $1." Nah, it's got to be something that's kind of silly, just $1.
I suppose you could be up in a helicopter like on WKRP, with the turkey.
The humanity.
So you could do the $2 bills. A lot of
yep.
Gen Zers don't even think they're real.
That's even better.
It's hilarious to watch.
I like that. Make that $2 bills then.
There you go.
Kathleen.
Well, I think maybe I would fund an intensive campaign for young teenagers and other teenagers of intensive sex education, just to really piss off their parents.
And with that, I'm going to go to Izzy. Oh, you agree with that? Yeah, okay, cool.
She seems so excited.
Like Planned Parenthood. I could put it towards sex education. That would
Be good.
Yeah. No.
I
I think that's my idea.
That was
Eli, if you had $1 million spare and you just want to mess with somebody's head, what would you do with it?
I just want to mess with somebody's head. Well, I think I like the ones idea, so I get plenty of ones.
Yeah.
And then I guess I would go to any big government event, I guess, or court event, and spread as many as I could all around the room.
Okay.
With any luck, something crazy would happen, or who knows?
At the moment,
Hopefully people go crazy.
I have to say it is between Lewis and Alena's Jesus
I
answer.
like the Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus.
Jesus was right up there.
It's just all right.
I
with
gave
me.
like
I
a
didn't say
minute.
Jesuses, I said
Yes, you did. You said
geniuses.
Jesus.
Thank you.
I gave
Eva.
2 minutes for the podcast.
Eva.
I'd probably first pay my credit cards, and with the remaining $24.50, I would probably donate to those people that are trying to recover from listening to our podcast. It's an expensive service, Poor Radina.
Okay. Yes. Her credit card has melted. Okay. Well, so.
I got to interject here because I was hoping I didn't hear Evo's answer because, Evo, do you want to tell these folks about what you like to do downtown to annoy everybody with the shoes?
Oh, yeah. Well, didn't we talk about it once? Or
We've talked
maybe?
about it once before, yeah.
Yeah, we will do this social experiment with Lou, and I think the kids did too. Izzy was too young, but I had two running shoes, old running shoes that I put on a street corner on 9th Street in Massachusetts, and I put a collection plate in front of it, and I put a sign that says, "Help, I'm invisible." and then me and Louis, we sat at a coffee shop and filmed people's, and you were there too, we filmed people's reactions, and it was interesting because people put money in it. Some people put money in it. There's some people took money from it. There was one person that ran his arm over the shoe to make sure there's nobody there in the shoes.
You need to run out and yell, "Smile! You're on candid camera."
It was a very entertaining experiment. Yeah.
So I'm imagining you with $1 million worth of shoes.
Oh God.
All across the country.
Yeah.
Okay, so next one. When you have doubts about the course that you are traveling, what do you do? When you have doubts about the course
Are
that you're
you
traveling?
specifically asking about when you're in the car and you're lost, or are you talking about the course of your life?
Course of your life, in the car, going down the Amazon, whatever it happens to be.
Are you asking if men ask directions? I mean, you're asking this question. So is this really what you're
No,
hunting for?
I used the word course. And course, down the course, direction. The direction you've decided that you're going to do something, and you're into it, and then you suddenly think, "Nah, I shouldn't be doing this, or should I?" But I think. Yeah, I think. Let's go to Eli, because he has in fact been down or up the. Do you go down the Amazon or up the Amazon?
I guess it depends on the elevation. Yeah, we went down for sure.
You went down.
Yeah, we went
so
down.
So you start at the small end and worked your way.
I mean, gotta be a little bit, man. Come on.
So what do you do if you're doing something and you think, "Nah, don't like this"?
Well, I don't know, if you're already one leg in, you might as well go all in. You know what I mean? Might as well go all in.
Might as well go all in. Oh, all right, fair enough. Chris?
Oh, it sort of depends on what it is I'm doing. Sometimes I have, come to the conclusion that it's the wrong direction, it's the wrong decision, and I got to do something different. Other times, I kind of double down, and you're all in. You gotta go.
Okay, Jane.
I agree with it. Just depends on what's going on, but I will say that I have no fears whatsoever. Just completely changing everything, changing the course. If I'm super displeased, I'm out. I'm done. I've sold half of my stuff, put a few things in storage, and moved across states. I'm just like, if I feel like something is not working, then I feel like the philosophy is you should never stay idle too long. I think that every 15 years you should move. You should do something different. But
does your current husband know this?
He does. He does. And we're coming upon 15 years.
15 years. 14 years.
We're at 12 right now, so
Does that apply to kids too?
Yeah.
Abandon them at 15?
Absolutely. No. But yeah, I don't have a problem changing things up. Just really depends on what we're talking about, I suppose.
Okay, Fernando.
I just stick on my path. I don't do hard change. Sometimes I regret. It's very kind of almost philosophical. Say, why I'm settled on this too much. I'm a very kind of do not move person.
Don't change. Kathleen.
I feel the same way, that if something isn't working right, I tend to think, well, I'm not working hard enough at it. Maybe I should change something so I like it better, but it's very hard for me to switch. So I wish I could be a little more flexible that way.
Lewis.
So this is actually one of the questions that pretty much haunts me, because I don't know that I have a guiding principle.
Why do you keep calling me?
I got nothing better to do.
Right.
No, I don't think that there's anything that I'm strictly beholden to, which means I switch all the time, like from this goal to that goal, from this idea to that idea. And quite honestly, it is one of the reasons that I am so enamored of my partner, because she is a dog with a bone. Like, it never, like, what she thinks never changes. Like, the persistence with which she goes after whatever it is she's trying to do is almost completely foreign to me. So I don't have the problem of not being able to switch topics, switch directions, switch goals. I might have the opposite. I think I have the opposite problem of not knowing what the ultimate goal that I'm chasing is. So yeah, it's I'm with you, Jen. It's like no problem at all for me to just kind of switch, move on, like change the focus of what I'm doing.
Well, when something doesn't go right and it's a complete disaster, I usually stick with it, and that explains why I'm still doing this podcast. After 7 years.
Just 7?
7 or 8 years now.
Doesn't it feel like more than 7?
It does feel like
feels
more
like
than
eternity,
7.
right?
Yeah.
We're going to put Izzy in a cupboard, so she's got to be here next week.
But yeah, I don't give up easily. And that's I've learned this from sports, I think, because in sports, when you're trying to get really good at something, you have to do it like thousands and thousands of times. Shooting in basketball, it takes more than those proverbial 10,000 hours. You have to constantly work on your craft and get better and better, and that's how it works. You grind it out and you get better. And we talked about failure a few podcasts back, and that it is actually important to fail, and fail is basically the basis of success. So I usually stick around and try to fix things. And I've worked for the same company for 30 years now. 30 years.
A lot of people answered really, really well. For me, I will stick to it, and just if it doesn't hurt me, hopefully I'll learn something from it. I like surprises, and I like seeing how things end. And if I started it, I'd ride that shit show to the end and see how bad it gets. And I'd like, sometimes, like sports, if you stick to it, you might actually come out. You might pull out a win in the end. It might. Yeah. But I've never been a fan of giving up. So I'll just stick with it and hope it doesn't kill me.
Izzy.
So, when it comes to, I'm very good at a lot of things, and so I don't like doing things that are hard. Like, I hate doing things that aren't really easy for me, or if I start doing something and it's not easy or I can't do it, I want to stop immediately. So that's if I don't like where something's going, I'd probably stop.
Name is Izzy.
That's what I'm saying. But if I just don't know, I also don't think that things that are meant for me will find me, and things that are not meant for me will pass me. So I just kind of go with it, and just whatever happens will happen. Like, I like reacting to things, not so much like changing things and going to act on things, and I don't know. Does that make sense? Again, I'm lazy. I'm really
improvising.
Well, actually, maybe that is, for now, I think it's probably good. But I think also, if most things come natural and easy to you, then eventually you're going to get bored with that, and you're going to start pushing yourself out of your comfort zone to try other things, too. I mean, you're pretty young, right? How old are you?
15.
Exactly.
Izzy, I would say don't force yourself to do anything you hate.
So I have some questions or thoughts. First, I feel like there's, at least it took the question differently than what I'm hearing most people ask, because in my head there's a difference between like something not working and me not being successful at something, and that's like those are two completely different things. So
it may just be the English language. I'm sorry.
It may be, yeah.
Being English.
But like, so when I hear this question, when I saw this question, immediately what I thought of was like, for my opinion, maybe two of the most unsuccessful presidents that we've had, the previous president and W. And to me, those are like, they're actually extremes, where the 45 would just do A/B testing all the time. Like, he would have no plan. He literally would just change on a dime, whatever he was talking about, just to find the effect. Whereas W seemed to have the opposite problem, where he would announce his plan and go, like, literally stand on top of a giant boat with mission accomplished behind him before anything had happened. So that was sort of the mindset that I was approaching the question from, because I agree with everything and also that everybody said. Like, I don't mind failing towards a purpose, but if I don't see the purpose, then I'm like, I'm done with this, so I'm gone. So all that as the introduction. What do you do, Jared?
Well, I think it's interesting that we all have different ways of doing this, and governments and prime ministers and presidents or what have you. The British decided that they would build a new Arctic survey vessel, right? And they decided that they would go to the country and ask the country what this Arctic multi-gazillion pound ship should be called. And the country responded. And the country decided that the best name for this ship was Boaty McBoatface. Boaty McBoatface. And the British government and the British government said, we cannot have an Arctic survey vessel called Boaty McBoatface.
Jeremy, speaking of this and your consistency, I want to point out we live in a place surrounded by an ocean of wheat. You've been working for 20 years on a boat in your workshop that is never going to see a drop of water. That boat, and I am not exactly sure what's going on. You're extremely consistent at working on these boats and buying tools and investing in the boat and never really achieving anything.
This is large. This is largely so I can fix your son's car.
Oh yeah. There's some people, it requires a lot of effort to fail. Murphs, for example, they worked hard to lower their standards, and they started strong by painting the ceiling tiles black, and eliminated. It was genius. Eliminated forever the problem of the ceiling tiles, but then they started working hard, and now I'm sure they're using oil drills to find the standards that were set by Conroy's.
No, they bought Conroy
buried
back.
deep into
They
the ground.
paid Conroy a lot of money for consultation fees.
Maybe.
If you want to do something, do it. You should try it. You should try it for at least a year. If you want to go to college, you should try it for at least a year. If you want to try music, you should try it for at least a year. If you want to be a comedian, you should try it for at least a year. Anything in the entire world you want to be, you should give it a go for at least a year after you graduate from high school.
Trump, are you listening?
Are you listening to me, Donald?
1 year. That's it.
1 year. That's all.
And then move on. All right.
Accidentally on purpose. Is the Secret Service not supposed to be beyond reproach? What happened to those texts and why?
So in an absolute failure of judgment, I made a comment on social media about this, and I don't comment on social media, and I pointed out this Secret Service every once in a while reminds me of the Praetorian Guard, and so if you've studied or understand anything about ancient history. So my frustration was I made that comment, and that was exactly the social media component, which was who were the Praetorian Guard, and they had, the explanation of what the Praetorian Guard did and why they were kingmakers and emperor makers, and Secret Service strikes me as that, and I don't think that was their intent, but that seems to be the direction they've gone. So for me, I look at that as that move to being above their station and above their purpose. So I would argue less accidental.
Kathleen.
I think it wasn't coincidence that they. It wasn't total coincidence that they just happened to be doing an update at the time that they did it and said, "Oh, golly, they're gone." But it was planned for ages. Tough shit. Now, I used to trust the Secret Service. People thought they were above reproach, but I don't think people think that any longer. I don't blame Pence for not wanting to get into the car that they were driving. They are paid to be totally dedicated to protecting the president, and they will have been dragged into his orbit.
Because I haven't been watching the news for the last 2 months. What are the texts that we're talking about?
Okay. The texts that were sent between Secret Service members who were driving the car that Trump was supposed to have tried to take over, etc.
On January the 6th.
Yeah. And there were big rumors in the Secret Service that got told outside that he tried to grab the wheel and so. Well, just coincidentally, they were doing a big telephone migration and update, and they got rid of all those texts, so they can't be recovered.
So, so basically, like, which fact they're really trying to hide, and that was whoever, like, they're trying to really take Pence out of the building to go to a far location to, perhaps, if Mike Pence had said yes to the Secret Service, we would not, the outcome would have been very differently. And who knows who else? Like, I mean, everybody can be corrupt. And I mean, I don't believe in FBI. I don't believe I believe in the overall picture. But I mean, there is corruption in every level, in certain
Trump
level.
was the most corrupt
What?
man around.
What?
And he had the Secret Service
Hell
with him.
yeah.
He only chose the corrupt ones. He would have got rid of it.
Allegedly,
if
it sounds like they even had some relation with some of his kids.
It might come as a surprise, but the Secret Service is not comprised of people that have graduated in quantum physics. They're mostly meathead idiots, total idiots, very one-dimensional. They were deep Trump land, deep MAGA, all of them. They would do anything for this guy, anything. He's their god. So yeah, not surprised at all by the disappearance of whatever materials there are that could compromise their dear leader. So fuck them. Fuck the Secret Service. Heroes my ass. They're cowards. They're sleeping with prostitutes, constantly getting in scandals. Remember Colombia, the scandal in Colombia,
the recent one,
the scandal in Thailand. It's all the time the same shit. Yeah.
Yeah, we're the Secret Service. We're above the law. The president we protect is above the law. Yada yada yada. Let's do whatever we want.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not a huge fan of those guys. They're supposedly there to take a bullet for the president. From what I've heard, they were calling their, I don't know if it was, maybe that was not the Secret Service.
It was the Pence's protections.
The Pence's protection. They were calling their relatives.
Saying, call my wife and let her know
Capitol.
I may not make it back.
Yeah, what kind of professionalism it is. Because we are conditioned to think that those guys are the best of the best.
There it is, right?
Yeah.
I think it's shattered a lot of people's illusions of what they really are and what they stand for.
Y'all stop talking about the Secret Service like y'all don't have black folks on this podcast that might get shot. Holy fuck!
Louis, I'm going to get shot because they're going to ask me whether or not, at some point in the future, if I've accepted Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior.
So basically, then, it's shattered the illusions of the Anglo persuasion.
Whoa, don't you start bringing Anglo into it.
What's the secret?
No, that's the big part of the problem.
Well being black, but you want to try being English here.
Yeah, no.
I mean, come on.
I'm good with being black. That's right.
Yeah. What's the Secret Service abbreviation?
SS.
There you have it.
But do you know who the Secret Service actually work for?
You mean which department?
Yeah, Treasury. It's the Treasury Department.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because originally they were
ATF.
had to do with counterfeiting. That's one of their.
Yeah.
Well, now they're working for the treasony department.
In my day job, I work with a couple Secret Service folks, and they are only about finance. And I think if they ever saw a gun, it's scare the shit out of them. So they're definitely accountants.
Dogs can tell these things. There's a reason that Biden's dogs have been biting Secret Service agents.
They're supposed to be unbiased about, they're supposed to protect any president the same way, and they're supposed to be not susceptible to corruption. But really, what we discover now is all we need to do to be Secret Service is to be able to be expressionless and wear sunglasses and an earpiece, and these people are just assholes.
All right, let's do an easy one for you. How are you dealing with the heat? Anybody?
Not a problem for me. I go out and play golf in this.
Weirdo.
What heat?
I grew up in this state.
I bought myself a paddling pool and I just sit out in it. That's basically what I do. Yeah.
That's what my wife does too.
I wear a jacket to work in the morning, sit in an air-conditioned office all day, and wear the jacket home. I don't have any time in which I get hot. I hate that. I like being hot in the summer. I want to retire and boil.
What is wrong with you, Kath?
Bobby,
Oh,
how do you deal with the heat?
Here's a product placement. I got this thing from a company called Mission. It's this band. You soak this thing, you wring it out, you pop it, put it on your head. It's super cooling. It's awesome. I recommend this. But no, I like hanging outside. I ride my bike in this crap.
Mission.
Mission. It's a really nice product.
Okay, well, just so we know, it's good stuff to know. Fernando, how do you deal with the heat?
He's from Brazil.
Well, I mean, we really can't complain here, man. You have like AC on a car, you have AC on a house. The house is stupidly built. I don't know why they build the fucking houses on all wood. And the amount of money we pay in energy is ridiculous, but crank the AC, buddy.
Yeah.
Life is good. You don't know what the shit would feel in Amazon without AC. Tell you that.
Yeah.
Izzy, what are you doing about the heat? I mean, you're sitting here, you've got sweatshirts on,
I'm
parkas.
black, so when I go outside, the sun doesn't literally cook me alive and boil me and burn me and make my skin peel. So I can just go outside and sit in the sun. It still gets hot after a while, but at the beginning of the summer, I would go out for 30 minutes at a time and just sit in the real sun and see how hot it would get and then do it again. So now it's mostly fine. It's not as hot as it was, I don't feel at the beginning of the summer.
But your skin still
But I don't really
sunburns,
do
doesn't
anything
it?
in.
You can
Huh?
burn your skin, can't you?
I've never gotten a sunburn in my life.
Really? Huh.
That's just me though. Not black people can get sunburned. Don't quote me on that. But
More melanin to protect
I just hate
you.
being
Yeah.
hot. I hate being hot.
Yeah.
It aggravates me. I remember my mom loves being hot. She would turn off the air conditioning. She would put box fans in the windows, and I would just lay there in my underwear on top of a sheet, sweating my ass off. And I will never live like this, ever, ever, ever. And I don't. And I don't.
Mission accomplished.
Yep.
Evo, how are you dealing with the heat?
I typically stay inside as much as I can when swamp ass season comes in Kansas because it's absolutely ridiculous. But
February through November.
Yes, absolutely. But I do have to run. So I run with a bunch of friends Tuesdays and Thursdays on campus, and it's really hilly and taxing. And we run whether it's 110 degrees or minus 20 degrees. So when we do this, I have a belt. We all have belts with bottles of water. And I don't drink it really. We just pour it on our heads, the water, and it's impossible to run without that stuff. We take breaks and we pour water on our heads. As a coach, it's very, very dangerous because when you coach soccer, it's all about running and it's outdoors. So KSHA, which is the Kansas High School Sports Association, they have mandated that we have these tubs of cold water outside by the soccer field. And so when somebody exhibits signs of heat stroke, we have to immediately submerge them in the water because that's the only way for your entire body to cool down. So at all times during August and
Is there an indoor gym at Bishop Seabury?
Yes.
Is it possible to practice soccer
inside
in the indoor gym?
What a
in
great
the
question.
summer?
And I've relayed that sentiment to the leadership of the school, and we've done every once in a while when it's super, super hot and humid, we've gone inside, but it's not big enough to emulate a real soccer game, so sometimes we have to do it outdoors, and in those cases we're just super careful, take a lot of water breaks, and if somebody really overheats, we do submerge them in the
I think it's a sad state of affairs where even the communists don't take a child who's suffering from heat exhaustion and try and drown them.
Yeah, how dare you?
So Jeremy
Save a child from heat stroke.
Jeremy was asking for how long we have to submerge them until they don't have the symptoms anymore of heat stroke, or just lower their body temperature long enough. We have thermometers there, so it is dangerous. Kansas is dangerous for outdoor sports.
When I lived in the UK for quite a long time with kids, we would come over for 2, 3, 4 weeks in the summer, and it was the best time of the year. I would soak in the heat, love it, and I would store up enough heat to last me the rest of the year in the UK, which was not easy to do. I'm lucky that I don't burn easily, and I can stand a lot of sun, and it's just wonderful. Love the heat, having lived elsewhere. I love coming back to it.
I think the first time I met Kathleen, she'd been out in the heat and all her hair had dropped out, and she'd just got spiky hair. I remember it being orange.
Mistaking me with your former wife, dear.
Right, so. Okay, let's move on while we
You
can.
better move on.
Yeah. Keep going. We couldn't really do anything about the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Is Nancy Pelosi's proposed trip to Taiwan putting down, in some way, a preemptive marker for the Chinese?
Oh, this is for Chris. Chris probably knows a lot about this.
Well, we're going to expect a lecture, full-blown lecture from Chris on this, but do you think the old girl is just saying, enough already?
I think it's exceedingly stupid. I mean, I number one, I don't know why a U.S. congressperson needs to go to Taiwan at this point. I don't really understand why a U.S. congressperson needs to tour Asia at this point in time. I mean, it just seems like a senseless antagonization of the whole situation. I saw a little blurb, somebody's tweet, and talking about how, it's okay because look at what we're doing in the Ukraine, and thinking, well, we want to stretch ourselves even more thin. I mean, that's what did Hitler in, is he tried to fight a two-front war. I mean, we're already sending a bunch of equipment to Ukraine. Do we want to start sending a bunch of equipment to Asia and start fighting a war over there? It doesn't make any sense at all. And then Mitch McConnell comes out and says, well, it's going to be a black eye on us if she doesn't go now because of what.
Do you think the Chinese would attack Taiwan?
I don't think that they would attack, but I'm not exactly sure what they do at this point. I don't think the Chinese at this point really want any kind of a conflict, but I don't think that they're going to say no.
Right.
Because I only think that they would respond to some kind of direct invasion of China at this point, but it's still kind of hard to say.
China considers Taiwan to be a Chinese province. They don't look at it as a separate country, and frankly, it's very similar to the situation in Ukraine, where Russia doesn't consider Ukraine to be a country. They look at Ukraine as part of Russia, and at Ukrainians as ancient Russian people, and this habit of bigger countries assimilating smaller countries next to them, it seemed like it had disappeared. It was a staple of the previous couple thousand years, and in the last 30, 40 years it hadn't happened until Russia decided to take over Ukraine. Now there's precedent. Taiwan considers itself a separate democracy. It has a democratically elected government. It's got 23 million people or 22 million people, I'm not sure. Very one of the most dense, I know it's one of the most dense populated countries in the world. And they don't look at themselves as part of China. They look at themselves as Taiwan. So what's going to happen now that there is precedent, now that Russia has taken over Ukraine and China has kind of supported Russia, I wonder if they're going to use the precedent, just take over Taiwan. And frankly, I'm not sure. I don't quite understand the issue. Chris probably knows more about it and how correct the Chinese are to think that Taiwan is just a province. So it's a complicated issue. I know there's been some agreements. There was a consensus or something in the 90s, a decision that they will be reunited, or am I mistaken?
Officially, the U.S. has said that it agrees with the one China policy that, historically, Taiwan has been a part of, the quote-unquote Chinese empire. It's where Chiang Kai-shek fled once the communists took over and set up his, government in exile.
Yeah.
And, the U.S. sort of supports that, Taiwan is a part of China. But that's what we say, but it's kind of one of those schizophrenic things where we say one thing and do another. Because it's kind of odd when you look at China itself. They say they're communist, but, their economic system is, full-bore free market capitalism.
I want to draw a comparison here between Taiwan and China and Texas and the United States. Now, Texas wants to secede, right?
Sure.
Well, like Taiwan, I say
hack?
let them go. Let them, if somebody decides that they're better off without another country, why not just let go of it and get along with them? It's, I know China does not want to have a competing economy and ideology right on its borders, but I don't think that they're going to win in this day and age by trying to do the same as Russia and just grab everything and tamp it down.
Alena.
I don't know what the original question was, but I'm going to respond to the Texas wants to succeed. But given that in Texas, just last year, I saw a friend who's a fellow comic professional who lives in Austin, Texas, on my Facebook feed, who was sitting, very funnily did a sketch, but was sitting and waiting for almost 2 days in his car for water because all of the water was off for 2 days in the middle of the hottest, coldest, whatever it was, time. And I mean, he waited for 2 days in his car for water. So I can understand why the people in Austin want to secede. I can understand why there are people in Texas that want to secede. Now, racist people in Texas that want to secede, I do not understand at all. But people who want to secede because Ted Cruz ran that country like a banana republic, I totally understand. And I'm calling it a country because in the United States, each state is culturally different to the point that it's exactly like Europe. There are different ways of talking. There are different ways of communicating with each other. There are different accents. There are completely different cultural attitudes from state to state, exactly like Europe.
Yeah, and Ted Cruz, by the way, left and went to Cancun when everything went down. Most importantly, Alena, you explained why the rest of the country wants Texas to secede.
Exactly.
I've always thought as a Brit that, so Texas, eventually some president says, okay, sod you, you're off. Gone, you're done, you got what
Please.
you want. You're done. Go away, Texas. Okay, and the Mexicans decide, well, we always rather thought Texas was part of Mexico. So we have a modern army and
Take it.
we're dealing with these, nasty hoods all the time. We'll come and take Texas back. And then all of a sudden you're going to have Greg Abbott on the phone to the president going, oh, hello, Mr. President. We just got this little problem. Do you think you could send down the Home Guard or the Army or something? Well, yeah. Hello.
Call the Prime Minister.
I say Prime Minister, yes. But, I don't know. whatever. Lewis.
So I got what I hope are not dumb, facile questions.
Oh.
Why is there a difference between America's, the U.S. government's perspective on Taiwan versus China or Ukraine? This is for anybody. Versus Ukraine v. Russia. Like, we seem to be taking two very different stances on, like, we support the Ukrainian people, but we also support the one China policy. Is that a tradition thing, or is there some type of political machinations that the Ukraine has gone through that Taiwan hasn't, that allows us to support Ukraine and not Taiwan?
And Ivo can probably speak to this a hell of a lot better than I can, but when the collapse of the Soviet Union, when each independent state broke out, they all became independent nations. They formed own governments based on the geographic boundaries that they had before they were taken over by the communists, by Russia. But because it existed beforehand, Taiwan beforehand had always been part of China. So it was never its own independent country. And when Chiang Kai-shek had went there, he basically was the South and breaking away from the Union.
Yeah.
So that becomes the difference, is that Taiwan was part of China for the longest time. It was never an independent country taken over by China, whereas all these other countries had formed, late 17 or late 1600s, became their own functioning governments, generally speaking, of course. And then, the Soviet Union had come in and taken over those.
Yeah, they stitched up this artificial country in 1917, where they collected Belarus, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Georgia, Ukraine, the Baltic republics, Lithuania, Estonia, and Latvia, and they made this artificial monstrosity, a Frankenstein monster, and then this monstrosity lasted, 70 years and fell apart, 70, 80 years and fell apart. But it's been the great ambition, imperial ambition of Russia to reconstitute this madness. And now you have supposedly independent country of Belarus, where actually they have Lukashenko, who is a pawn of Putin, and Belarus is Russia. So is Georgia, where they took militarily over Georgia. So is Kazakhstan, where they installed Azerbaijan, Uzbekistan. They installed their own dictators that are subservient to Putin, so he wants to do the same with Ukraine.
Well, you see, if you look at France, for instance.
Listen up.
Well, just for a minute. There's France. France. It's the place across the river from us. And you'll find that there's a big part of France that's called Brittany. Well, it's British. Brittany. British. Used to be. We don't get all worked up about the French keeping it.
You should get back.
But we don't. Well, they're welcome to it. I mean, when the Irish wanted to devolve, okay, we put up a little bit. Off they went.
Yeah, I've discovered
America, same thing.
Don't go there.
Same thing.
I've discovered recently that if you're very, very drunk, if you get extremely drunk, plastered out of your mind, you sound like you're speaking French. And you end every sentence with the word le crétin, which means cretin. And it will sound very, very French. So listen to this.
I like it.
Le crétin.
I like it. I'm gonna use that. That's pretty good.
Nom Dieu. Well, boys and girls,
I went to Paris. I was in the Louvre. I was in the.
You were in the Louvre or the Lou?
The Louvre. The Louvre. The big museum built out of one of the old palaces.
Oh, where they got a few paintings and things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was in one of the rooms admiring all of the Grecian urns that they have in there.
How much does a Grecian earn?
I don't
know.
Stop it!
Behind my back, in walks an American tourist, and I hear, another big room, lots more stuff. And this guy just pans around with a video camera and turns around and walks out.
You
Okay.
are making huge assumptions about Americans.
Yes, but my father
all
genuinely
true.
used to say about the French, he said, it's very easy dealing with the French. He said, perfectly seriously, this is. It's very easy dealing with the French. Just talk loudly at them.
Jeremy, you have known for a long time that your father was a dickhead.
Well,
so
yes,
you
true.
Don't have to, you don't have to repeat it.
But, there we are. So, sponsors. We've come to the end of another thrilling threnody of rumbustical debate. Yeah, you see, you can nearly say it now, can't you? Rumbustical, mon Dieu.
Is it really over already?
Yes, it's nearly over, and it's time
that's
for...
the worst time of the podcast when Susan supplies her copy. So, I'm sure it's going to be very short. I'm sure it's going to be to the point. And here we go.
Good God, it's 25 pages.
All right, just got the copy from Susan. This time, guys, Susan has reached deep, deep, deep into the sponsorship well. Apparently with her eyes closed, because she has emerged with the unconditional endorsement of no other but the great football legend and current Republican senatorial candidate from Georgia,
Oh, no.
Hershell motherfucking Walker.
Isn't that a candy bar?
Huge guy, guys, don't mess around. He's huge honor. The man is a Heisman Trophy winner, as you know. He's an NCAA champion. He has played for 5 NFL teams, and he's in the College Football Hall of Fame. Not to mention he was an MMA fighter all the way up to the age of 50. And he's a close friend of the former president, Donald J. Trump. I'm a little nervous though, because he has been, because he's Hershell Walker, and because he has been in the news for all the wrong reasons lately. Apparently, the man is a pathological liar. He has fathered a lot of illegitimate children, and also had made some, to say the least, bizarre statements to the press.
And he can't hold down a job, from what you said.
Well, recently Hershell Walker has lied about having a college degree, owning a massive factory, and being in law enforcement. Our own Susan from marketing says that he either has been hit on the head too many times or simply doesn't know anything about anything other than football. So Susan naturally recognized that he might agree to sponsor us. To emphasize her point, Susan graciously has given us a direct quote from Hershell that he delivered during a MAGA rally. This is from last week. Listen to this. This is word for word. Since we don't control the air, our good air decided to float over to China. China has bad air. So when China gets our good air, that bad air has got to move. So it moves over to our good airspace. Then we got to clean that back up. This is word for word a quote from Hershell Walker from last week at a MAGA rally.
Okay.
As you can see, guys, Mr. Hershell Walker is uniquely qualified to sponsor our podcast. Here is his recorded endorsement. Naturally, it has been taped on our General Electric dual Vox answering machine. I'm gonna play this right now, guys. And first, of course, we gotta play the answering machine.
Leave a message after the beep. Beep.
Hello, it's me, Hershell Walker. I'm gonna sponsor you. Because Susan told me your vast audience is gonna vote for me. She said you're all appeal to conservative listeners. She also said if you live in Kansas, you can vote in Georgia. Twice. They say Hershell Walker's not qualified. They say Hershell Walker's insane. They say Hershell Walker likes conspiracy theories. Hershell Walker has illegitimate children all over the country. Hershell Walker this, Hershell Walker that. Bullshit! I'ma kick your bony liberal ass motherfuckers. Yes, I got a gaggle of children that I haven't even seen. So what? That means I'm fertile like the great Midwestern plains. I got children, all right. I have more children than the fucking Tabernacle Choir. I got so many children that some of your children are probably my children. Don't you see, you Democrat traitors, that great land of ours is like a beautiful giant banner, broad stripes flapping in the wind. Only instead of stars, it is spangled with my children. Also, I named one of my children Founding. So shove it. Now I'm a founding father.
Oh dear, Susan.
They say I'm not qualified to run for Senate. What you talking about, infidel libs? I can run better for Senate than anybody. I'm in a Hall of Fame running back. I can run for Senate between the tackles. I can run through the middle. I can run on the outside. Hell, I can even run the open field. Just get me the ball and I'll run that thing all the way to the Capitol. They say I can't tackle the issues. Are you kidding me? I can tackle those fucking issues. What are they? 220, 230 pounds? I'll just lower my shoulders, wrap them up above the knees, and slam! Put those issues on the turf for a loss of yardage. They say I like conspiracy. Shame on you, you baby-eating Democrat lizard people. Shame on you. Our great President Donald J. Trump should still be in the White House, if not for that shifty motherfucker Joe Biden. He intercepted the election. President Trump threw a perfect spiral, or rather threw the country into a perfect downward spiral. And then bam! Shifty Joe took it away. It was an EPI, electoral pass interference. We all know how he did it. Those Dominion voting machines. They were hooked to the Nest thermostats. And when voters turned down their air conditioners full blast, the Chinese knew. Those are Republican voters. Libs wouldn't run their ACs because they want to save their precious environment. What is an environment anyway? Our democracy is at stake and you are worried about mints? Environments. Other than cinnamon altoids, I hate mints. Yes, those machines are to blame. And it's not the Chinese. I figured it out. It's the Egyptians. Those fucking Egyptians. They love Joe Biden. Otherwise, why would they build a great pyramid of Giza? And right next to it, they built a giant sphincter.
Oh, something like that.
Why would you do that? I know why they worship that liberal geezer asshole. And then they put that geezer pyramid on the dollar bill with a big eye on it. So shifty Joe Biden can watch us when we use it to bribe our law-abiding politicians. Those liberals, man, they control Hollywood. They use those dragons from Game of Thrones to make chemtrails that poison our children with critical race theory. Why are you criticizing our race? You don't like NASCAR, is that? Guess what? You can be critical all you want, but it's still the best race there is, you Prius driving motherfucker. They say I can't be a senator of Georgia because I live in Texas. They say I don't even know where Georgia is. Of course I know where Georgia is, motherfuckers. It's on Earth, on the top side. And if I am elected senator, I will make sure it stays kind of in the middle and never falls off the edge, okay? They say Mexican voters won't vote for me because I'm not sensitive to Latino issues. To my Latino voters, I want to say, konnichiwa. They say I'm an extreme right-winger. Boo-hoo! Of course I am. It's common sense. The founding fathers called it the Bill of Rights, not the Bill of Lefts.
Oh.
When people like something, they say, all right, not, oh, left. They say I'm an insane pathological liar. How dare you, invertebrate libs? I'm a hero. I fought in World War I, where I flew a Boeing 747 into Egyptian's nuclear submarine. Elon Musk himself gave me a Presidential Medal of Honor in space. They say I'm dumb. I don't even know what electoral college is. Shut the fuck up. I won the Heisman. I beat Notre Dame, bitches. Put me on any NCAA team, and I mean any. And I'll score at least 4 touchdowns on that wimpy electoral college. They say my opponent, Raphael Warnock, is too smart and he has a doctoral from Columbia University. They say I don't have a strategy. They say he'll beat me. They say he has a 10-point advantage right now. So what? There's just 1 touchdown and a field goal. I do have a strategy too. I'll put Chris Christie at nose tackle. Good luck moving that monster off the line. Bill Barr will be the blind side, like he always is. Mitch McConnell would be a right tackle, like he always is. Then I'll have Lindsey Graham. Yeah. Then I'll have Lindsey Graham. He was once a tight end, but now he's a wide receiver, if you know what I mean.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Then just give me the pigskin, and by that I don't mean Donald Trump. I mean the football. And just watch me run. And you know what? That fucker Warnock might still manage to tackle me, but we will win no matter what. Why? Because we will have Giuliani as a referee. That's right. We will have Georgia's Republican representative install that lovable Quasimodo Giuliani as a referee. He's gonna win it for us. And once he does, I will be United States Senator, and we will all chant, Rudy, 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 Rudy. All right. Thank you, Mr. Hershell Walker.
Want to thank our producer engineer tonight with his knobs, Neil Rasmussen, and the team, Alena, Eli, Bobby, Fernando, Chris, Evo, Lewis, Greg, Eve, Izzy, and Kathleen. My name is and Mr. Hershell Walker. My name was Jeremy Taylor. Yay.